like to make a second presentation on the health benefits of ballet for the brain. Today will be a video presentation with some thoughts on the neurochemicals, neurohormones that are released when dancing ballet and when dancing in general and affect the functioning of the brain. And this will be followed by an article for my LinkedIn newsletter, The Biomedical Artist. But I wish to share this for Brain Awareness Week. In my first presentation, I mentioned many key benefits of dancing ballet for the brain, such as improved learning and memory, improved cognition, better sleep, less anxiety and depression. It's a form of meditation and it boosts self-confidence and it's a social activity. However, it would be good if scientists, brain science, neuroscientists, psychiatrists, neurologists would study in more detail what are the mechanisms by which these effects are taking place. And if you look in the literature, not just the scientific literature, but literature about ballet and dance, there is the popular notion that feel-good chemicals such as serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and the social hormone oxytocin are released when dancing ballet and dancing in general. And even in Harvard Medical School there is an article about this from several years ago. However, when I look in the literature, there aren't many actual scientific studies supporting this notion. We hypothesize this by knowing the effects of dancing ballet, such as decreased anxiety, improved mood, better learning and memory, but we haven't actually shown what are the neurochemical changes. And so first to say a few words about the possible neurochemicals, neurohormones that might be released when dancing ballet and may be beneficial for brain function and for the functioning of the whole body. And then after I mention them and what are the popular views, how they are changed with ballet dancing, I will provide examples of two published randomized clinical trials that study the effect of dance on different age groups and how this relates to cognition and to neurochemicals. First, to mention briefly what are the neurochemicals. They are substances released by brain cells. It could be neurons, it could be glia, and even sometimes vascular cells that relay chemical signals between the nerve cells and the glia, and through this they affect behavior, emotions, movement, and other functions controlled by the brain. And it should be mentioned that these neurochemicals or neurohormones may be produced not only in the brain, but they might be produced in the body. They might travel from the brain to the body and have an effect there. And in the articles that I have seen from Harvard Medical School and from sources that highlight the benefits of ballet dancing, it is proposed that dance in ballet and dance in general lead to the increase of serotonin, a neurochemical that makes you happy, reduces anxiety. Dopamine. Dopamine is the neurochemical which is involved also in happiness, in reward, pleasure, in movement. Also endorphins, which are feel-good chemicals, and oxytocin, which is the social hormone. And so, if we look at dopamine, it makes sense for dopamine to be released and for its levels to change, because the brain cells that are involved in reward, in pleasure, they are also involved in movement, and they release the neurotransmitter dopamine, and they also have receptors for dopamine. And, for example, some ways to modulate the levels of dopamine so that they're of beneficial levels for the brain and for functioning are by engaging in rewarding activities, which for everyone might be different. For some people, this might be experiencing something novel such as travel. For some people, this might be food. This might be through exercise. And for example, I love to dance ballet, but I don't eat so much, and normally I like to travel a lot but don't travel so much for several reasons. First, because sometimes it might be stressful, sometimes I don't have time, or sometimes I don't have the necessary financial resources. Therefore, for me, ballet is a wonderful way to set my dopamine levels at an optimal range. This is what I suppose, and because of this, I don't have a big appetite. And for example, oxytocin. Oxytocin is a social hormone, hormone of love. And it is released when you do something that connects you to your heart, something you love, such as for me, this is the ballet. And also, it is released in social situations which are enjoyable, such as dancing ballet with other people. And so I mentioned the several neurochemicals that have been proposed to be released when dancing ballet, but I wanted to look in the literature for published papers, because I'm a scientist, that support this. And surprisingly, I didn't find many papers. And therefore, I think it would be good if there are more studies in humans, in professional dancers, in other non-professional dancers, to measure how these different neurochemicals change. Because knowing this, we will understand better the neurophysiology and the physiology of dance in general. Why do some people love to dance more? How can we use dance for therapeutic purposes instead instead of administering drugs that modulate these neurochemicals? And how can we design better drugs for different patient groups, knowing the changes in these neurochemicals when they dance? For example, anti-anxiety drugs modulate serotonin. Drugs that are for treatment of depression might modulate dopamine or serotonin, and so such studies in humans, how dance changes these neurochemicals, will be very useful. And now to mention two of the studies that I came across. One is published in the International Journal of Neuroscience in 2005. It's a randomized controlled clinical trial with the first author Yang Jung, and the authors are from the Republic of Korea. The title of the article is Dance Movement Therapy Improves Emotional Responses and Modulates Neurohormones in Adolescents with Mild Depression. So from here we see that the study is very interesting. What is the effect of dance on adolescents with mild depression? And the authors investigate the therapeutic effect of 12 weeks dance movement therapy. The study subjects are 40 high school senior students, mean age 16 years old, and using different measures, the scientists find that dance movement therapy reduces the psychological distress, alleviates the mild depression, and it increases the plasma levels of serotonin. However, the dopamine concentrations are decreased, and therefore they conclude that the dance movement therapy stabilizes the sympathetic neurons in the sympathetic system and is useful in mild depression. This is amazing. However, the decrease in dopamine could be interpreted in different ways, and therefore it doesn't correspond to what is the popular notion that dancing increases dopamine. Perhaps it is decreased because it is used by the neurons in the movement. We don't know. The second study that I found is now in an elderly patient population. It is in Experimental Gerontology 2022. And it's again a randomized controlled trial. The title is The Positive Impact of 12 Weeks Dance and Balance Training on the Circulating Amyloid Precursor Protein and Serotonin Concentration, as well as physical and cognitive abilities in elderly women. It is by first author Eva Alexandra Fils. The group is from Poland, and the group studies 12 weeks dance training or balance training on forest, on physical and cognitive function, and circulating markers of neurodegeneration and cognitive impairment in elderly women. There are 30 women aged mean age 73, and the authors find that the dance leads to improvement in the physical and cognitive functions It increases the blood amyloid precursor protein and decreases the serotonin. And now we see a different change than in the 16-year-olds where serotonin was increased. Here it is decreased. Is this because the group is older? It's a different form of movement? We don't know. But in any case, these two studies show that neurochemicals change, that dance is beneficial for physical and cognitive function in humans, and I would say that ballet is very beneficial for the brain, and that more studies are needed for us to understand the changes, how this occurs, and how we can use it for therapeutic and preventative measures. Thank you very much for your time and attention.